Forecast sponsored by Kissling, Nestico, and Reddick. Heard in a car? Call KNR.
And a lot of people getting ready for Super Bowl weekend as we bring in First Alert meteorologist Erica Page. And I think it's safe to say with the weather that we're getting, it would be a great idea to stay at home to watch the big game.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, too, like, especially if you've got maybe early plans for church or brunch or whatever the case may be for your Sunday morning, that's when you're going to run into some of those slick road conditions. And if temperatures don't warm above freezing, you're still going to be dealing with some icy spots at times. Let's walk you through kind of this setup that leads us into some of those icier conditions. And it all begins with this 19 First Alert weather day tomorrow. The morning hours really look fine. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of data that brings in the moisture anytime sooner than that. Though Andy will have the latest for you tomorrow morning should any adjustments in timing need to happen. Really what this system's going to be efficient in doing is bringing back more of that moisture, and it's going to take some time to pile that in, which is why we think the early afternoon through about midnight is going to bring some of the biggest impacts. But we're going to see such a change in temperatures from the northern part of our viewing area to the southern that you're going to have some spots that may really only pick up on snow, others that stay predominantly icy the entire duration of this event. Regardless of which category you fall into, we know that causes travel impacts across the area, so we want you to be prepared for that now in case you need to adjust maybe some of those weekend plans for tomorrow more specifically. Winter weather advisory is in effect 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon through 7 a.m. on Sunday, so that just kind of gives us a little bit of wiggle room should things kind of refreeze or stay frozen through the overnight and you have to deal with some slick spots early Sunday. That's what it would predominantly be for. But if you're in our primary snow belt, no, you may get a couple more snowflakes that move through, especially through those overnight hours. Here's your ice tracker and some of the latest data that we have. What you'll see is that there's going to likely be a pretty solid corridor, and data's been pretty consistent, mid to southern viewing area where we're dealing with 1/10 to almost 2/10 of an inch of ice. Even to the north, it's possible you get a light glaze as this system continues to unfold. And the main reason for that is that temperatures are still going to be into the mid-30s. So once you start to cool off that temperature, well, then you can bring in a better opportunity for snow. And that cold air is going to be arriving from the north, which is why our northern communities really stand the best chance of picking up on some of that snowfall throughout the duration of this event. Farther south, you may see a quick transition over to snow. It's just likely not going to accumulate to a whole lot, which is why we're more concerned then in those zones with a bit more of that icing. A wide view of Doppler radar tonight. You can see a lot of that moisture starting to build in across Kentucky. It's really that very narrow strip just on the northern side of it that we're finally starting to get that transition over to a little bit more of that snow. So again, it's going to take time for this system to move in. For really now through early tomorrow morning, our biggest impact is just seeing those clouds roll in. As the clouds pile in, temperatures will warm from the teens to about low to mid-20s to get the day started tomorrow. Again, we'll stay quiet through about midday, but once we get into the early part of the afternoon, you'll see temperatures about low to mid-30s, and as soon as that moisture starts to arrive, that's where you're going to see basically that bigger difference from the snow close to the lakeshore, ice basically in that central zone of northeast Ohio. And even if we're getting some rain, keep in mind road temperatures have been really cold today. We'll stay on the colder side tomorrow, so likely that rain may fall as liquid rain, but it may freeze on contact, and so that's where you still have some of those icy impacts into tomorrow. The good news is all of this clears out by the time we get into your Sunday. At least gives us a little bit of a break headed into the early part of the work week, but we have several more systems on deck that we're going to talk about and kind of the impacts to northeast Ohio coming up in the next half hour.